各位记者朋友，大家上午好。今天非常高兴有机会和海南省的同事，还有我们部里的同事一起向大家介绍海南自由贸易
with the colleagues from Hainan and also from the MOFCOM to introduce you the newly released negative list for cross-border trading services of the Hainan Free Trade Port. Approved by the CPC Central Committee and the State Council on July 23rd, the MOFCOM issued the updated negative list for cross-border trading services of Hainan FTP. This is a great arrangement made by CPC Central Committee and State Council. General Secretary Xi Jinping at the third CIIE opening remarks emphasized that China will leverage the leading role played by the FTP and also to improve the negative list. And in the work report of the government delivered by Premier Li, he also mentioned that we will also release the negative list for market access. In order to implement the guidance, the MOFCOM with other 15 departments studied the home and abroad negative list and also compared and will take reference to the international standards, and we have studied for over 1 year. And finally, we released this negative list for cross-border trading services of the Hainan FTP. In face of the great complex international landscape, China stay committed and resolvedly to further opening up and upgrading our level of trade, and we also lowered our trade barriers, and also we streamlined and also simplified the administration for the export and imports. And in terms of investment, we have released and also kept shortened the negative list for foreign investment. Outside the negative list, and we also treat the home and abroad companies as equal in order to improve the liberalization and facilitation of trade. In terms of trading service, in the current signed free trade agreement, just had the certain sectors actually had the regulations, but we have not made a great progress in this regard compared to the commitment made to the WTO. Besides last year, over the past 1 decade, the international cross-border trading services annual growth actually doubled the growth rate of the trade in goods. So that also shows you the momentum. So which means also in the coming future, the potential of trade in services, especially cross-border trading services, will be further unleashed. And we believe cross-border trading services of trade, the trading service will be the future driving engine of the global economic growth. And this negative list for Hainan FTP, also the first negative list in this regard. Compared to the previous negative list, this list for Hainan FTP stipulated clearly the 70 items of 11 departments. So any sectors outside this negative list and inside Hainan FTP for the service providers home and abroad should receive the equal treatment in terms of the cross-border trading services. We could see that there is a much big improvement in the forward-looking significant transparency. It's very conducive and groundbreaking institutional arrangement, and will also help to realize trade liberalization, upgrade China's openness, and also help us to develop the new development paradigm. When we worked on drafting this negative list over the past 1 year, we have considered the following 4 areas. So these 4 areas actually are our key focus. First, we should be aligned with the international practice. The negative list is actually a key component of high-quality cross-border trade. Also a very important mode of trade. We talk about that the requirement on the trading service, also the one made by WTO, actually own positive list. But today we practice this negative list model. So we talk about the A1 we signed with WTO and also the ones we signed in terms of the free trade agreement. That's only a positive list for commitment. Last year, when we signed the RCEP, we also followed the model of a positive list. But the members of RCEP, we would like to convert this positive list to negative list in the next 6 years. And today we released this negative list for Hainan, which is also a practice and action for us to align with the world practice. And that is also a key reform on the current trade practice in Hainan, and also one of the key demonstration of China's reform and opening up endeavor. And we also take active actions in opening up. And this negative list for cross-border trading services of the Hainan FTP actually broadened the access. And we talk about in transportation, finance, economy, trade also had a high-level openness. So this is not required by bilateral requirements, and this is actually our single action that also delivered our promise to the access to WTO, and also align with the openness required by the free trade agreement we signed with other countries. And this negative list, actually, you could see that for the high-tech industry, tourism, and the trading service actually are the 3 key pillars to support Hainan FTP development. Therefore, this negative list will further boost Hainan's development, and will also actually open the door to the foreign crews to come into Hainan, and also the limit to the sea routes to these crews, so that's conducive to the high-quality development of Hainan FTP. And fourth, we also considered that the coordinated development in a safe manner. So we always keep the bottom line thinking concept. And on the one side, we focus on high-quality development of Hainan FTP, and on the other side, we also maintain the necessary items to keep the territory safety, and we will also to implement the construction of the matching infrastructure, and also have the warning system and make sure that there's no systematic and regional risk happen. For the key departments in the different sectors, with the guidance given by MOFCOM, will continue their monitoring work in their sectors. Going forward, MOFCOM will implement the negative list and also summarize the lessons and experience we learned during our practice, and will also roll out these negative lists for trade in service. And this is my brief introduction. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wang. Now the floor is open. So please identify your media outlet before raising questions. Thank you very much. CMG CCTV. So this is another key initiative. It's the institutional arrangement. And this is also the list after the list we issued for the access of foreign investment. What is the role and significance this negative list play? Thank you very much. To release this negative list for cross-border trading services of the Hainan FTP is under a new development paradigm and a new development philosophy. And this is a proactive action taken by China in order to realize the high-quality development of Hainan FTP and also a pressure test for China's further opening up, as well as a high-quality open economy. So in this sector, in this regard, this negative list with great importance. For tertiary industry, this is one of the key industry in Hainan province, taking up 60% of Hainan's GDP. Based on the updated numbers, the development of tertiary industry contributes to 95.8% of Hainan's economic development. So the implementation of the negative list is conducive to further open the tertiary industry in the Hainan FTP, especially in the modern service industry. This negative list for cross-border trading services of the Hainan FTP in terms of the modern service sector, such as trade, the finance, transportation, should all play a key role. And you can, for the further details in the document. So this list can help Hainan to introduce new models and experience, content, service provided, and also make Hainan more competitive. And this negative list in market survey and also the other commercial service and seeing a upgraded progress and also to bring the further improvement in the sector of education. So we talk about the commercial services and also the supporting sectors. The negative list actually make the further arrangement in greater openness, and also we will see that it help to gather the factors of production and also to realize trade facilitation liberalization and also to let Hainan to develop in a high-quality manner. And it's not only limited to Hainan, actually, we also could see that this is a pressure test in Hainan in order to further build China a more open economy. And this is the first negative list in terms of cross-border trading service. And this is made by China. It helps us to control a risk as the bottom line and also to enhance the pressure test. And also we could test the water in Hainan and then to accumulate the experience and roll out these negative lists in other provinces in China. We believe Hainan can find the path for us and also to accumulate the experience and lessons and lay the solid foundation for China for further development. And we also talk about this is a very important opportunity and the flag barrier for China in a high-quality development manner. we talk about the cross-border trade in services actually is double the pace of cross-border trade in goods. The exports reached 18 trillion US dollars and just 5 trillion US dollars in trading services. But the growth rate actually doubled the trade in goods. Some tertiary industry actually right now do not have cross-border trading services. I believe this negative list also can help them to open a wider horizon for them to find new paths and model. And also in the future, we do not need to establish a third-party institution to conduct a cross-trade border. Last year, impacted by COVID-19, cross-border trade in service reached 661.7 billion US dollars, ranking the second around the world. Still a big gap compared to the top one in this regard. So the implementation of an active list for cross-border trade and services of Hainan FTP help China to have a higher quality of opening up, especially for the tertiary sectors, and also to bring more the competitive advantages to China, and also to improve the quality of the domestic and international circulation. And that also help us to attract the talents and also the data, as well as other high quality factors of production in order to let domestic and international circulations reinforcing each other in order to finally foster a new development paradigm. That is why we talk about that the significance today and tomorrow of this negative list are great. Phoenix TV. This negative list actually related to the different kinds of payments that maybe also have the potential risk. So do you have the measures to diffuse the potential risks? Thank you for your question. I would like to invite Mr. Ni Qiang to take your question. Thank you very much. And we not only focus on development, we also pay a great attention to risk management. So we also strengthen our capability of the risk management and also the risk prevention. In order to implement this negative list in a safe manner and also build Hainan Free Trade Port, and we are focusing on both the monitoring work or supervision as well as the risk management. In terms of supervision, this negative list actually listed the measures we are going to take, which means the threshold for market access. Anything within the negative list will follow the measures stipulated already, and for the items outside this negative list will be treated equally to the home and abroad companies, and for the sensitive sectors, including the education, telecommunication, and we will also have the corresponding measures to manage the risks. So for the new initiatives outside the negative list, the provincial industrial key departments will release the corresponding supervision measures, and guided by MOFCOM and other departments and ministries, when we will make all these measures available. In terms of risk management and prevention, for the possible risks, make sure they can be controlled. Last year, Hainan province has already established certain specific working groups to control the risks, and this year we also added an additional 2 teams, so in total 15 special working teams in this regard. So their job is to define and diffuse the risks over the last 1 year work. These groups had the working systems, including the people, capital information, to find out the loophole and also to release the measures against these loopholes. And with the help of technologies, we also improve our capability of risk management. And we also established the IT platform to help our work in this regard. Right now, this IT system already put in service in terms of the flow of people, goods, and information, and all controlled around the clock. And we also established 3 lines, defense lines. So far, there were no systematic risks happened. Going forward, we will leverage the role played by these working groups, always stick to the bottom line, and make sure that there is no big systematic risk happen. And we will also do a good job in the analyzing and collecting the operation situation of the activities in Hainan, and also to analyze the effect of the negative list. Thank you. Paper. This negative list actually show the high quality openness. Would you please elaborate more in this regard? Thank you for your question. Let me take your question. As I just introduced, the negative list for cross-border trading service of the Hainan Free Trade Port, one of the features is transparent and wider openness. And this is also a key initiative to reform the current system and also conducive for us to see a more open economy. So first, for this negative list, and we compare this negative list to the commitment we made when we make access to WTO. And we talk about that. Actually, this is also available online. You can check later on. Actually, that's in a positive list when we access into WTO. So there's around 160 departments involved. For Hainan negative list for cross-border trade services of Hainan FTP, that included 120 departments. That's all surpassing the commitment made to WTO. So we talk about that the 120 departments actually follow the higher standards than the requirements made by WTO or a commitment to WTO. So we talk about that. We had 100 departments deliver their commitment for openness, and 70 in Hainan. We talk about the legal department. So in the commitment to WTO, we have not identified our commitment. Which means that the foreign companies cannot involve in China's legal practice. Right now, you could see that the overseas legal firms can practice certain lawsuits related to Hainan. In terms of education or commitment to WTO, is that overseas education provider must own a bachelor or above degree, and also should have a certificate of their service, and also should own the 2 year of working experience. But in the Hainan negative list, actually cancelled this 2 year working experience requirement. So that we talk about 160 departments, and the 60 departments actually not really made the commitment for opening up, but actually in the Hainan active list, although they not make their commitment to WTO, but right now in the Hainan active list, that's the 40 out of that 60 departments actually made their commitment in this negative list. We talk about service provider overseas. After obtained the recognition of qualifications, then can practice their service in Hainan. And also, we talk about veterinarian, and also we opened to people to get a license in this regard in Hainan. And before, actually, we did not make this kind of commitment to WTO, but right now, that's our commitment, and also listed in this negative list. And we have already signed a 19 free trade agreement with 26 countries, regions, and institutions. And we can say that the level of openness in the Hainan list actually far beyond the openness in this FTA. And let's talk about still that 160 departments in the Hainan negative list. 110 departments actually surpassed the commitment in RCEP. For example, the aviation service industry. In RCEP, China did not make a commitment, nor to the WTO, but in the negative list of Hainan FTA, actually we cancelled the requirement on the limitation of foreign service providers in terms of aviation service or the meteorological service. Now, RTEP for the movement of natural persons. We cancel the foreign personnel to take participation or apply for urban rural planner certificate. And right now we already canceled that. So you could see that even compared to RCEP, we open more areas in the Hainan active list. Thank you. With the China National Radio, we'd like to know that how the role played by this negative list to the openness in the trading service in Hainan, and what's the benefit that can bring to the companies. And since the release of a master plan of Hainan FTP, actually around 140 policies and measures are available after that, and we could see the progress has made and the benefit actually was enjoyed by the companies. And this time we released this negative list for cross-border trading services of the Hainan FTP, also the key initiative of Hainan's FTP building, and also to speed up the course of the trade and trade facilitation liberalization. I believe that all the policies adding up can bring the new highlights to Hainan FTP development, and companies can find more opportunities here in Hainan. And Hainan, on the other hand, will provide more services to these companies. For example, for DA clearance, right now we canceled the DA requirement on legal person, which means the foreign companies. And when they make the custom clearance, they do not need to have the legal entity in China. So that's also speed up the process of clearance, and also to give more the free room to these companies, and also that they can utilize this opportunity to improve the companies in Hainan for its competitive advantages and learn from the good examples of the foreign companies. For the shipping companies, if they not have that qualification, and they cannot conduct service in China. And for this time, actually, we canceled the limitation on foreign shipping checking companies. So which means they do not need to establish a legal entity in Hainan, and they can just send their staff or own someone at the port to check the ships. And this also help to add a freer to the shipping industry, and also we can enjoy more the international service, and also lower the operation cost for the companies, and also provide the convenience to the international shipping industry. And also this time in the negative list, we also cancelled the limitation on the personnel applying or participating in the certificate tests. So a lot of the jobs or occupations actually as before are open to the foreigners right now is available to them, and this is also actually can help us to attract talents work in Hainan, and if they actually consider us to attract talents, and also can enjoy the tax policy benefits. We believe with the further rollout of this negative list, the consumption, education, job will all be further improved. The cross-border trade and service will also embrace the new development opportunities, and also welcome everyone who come to Hainan to open your own business or participate in cross-border trade and services. Cover news. We would like to know why this time in Hainan we roll out this first negative list for cross-border trade and services. Let me take your question. This time, the first of its kind negative list for cross-border trade and service, we choose Hainan as the ideal place. The considerations are followed. First, it is a requirement of the establishment of Hainan Free Trade Port. General Secretary Xi said that we would like to promote a free flow of factors of production and to build a high-quality, high-standard free trade port. And a negative list in terms of freedom, liberation, and facilitation are the key features of a free trade port. In Hainan, we practice and roll out this negative list. We would like to accelerate the free flow of the factors of production driven by the development of a tertiary industry And for any high-quality free trade port, this negative list is a must. I'll also look into the conditions. So Hainan is the largest free trade port in China. It's a place for us to utilize the advantage in the geology and also its location to practice this cross-border trade and services. So it's also the ideal place for us to take a pressure test. As we mentioned, when we drafted this negative list, we actually have considered the safety issues, and also one of our reporters already asked questions regarding risk control and management. Actually, in Hainan, as an independent geographic unit, is also very important for us to practice measures in terms of the development as well as the risk control. So it helps us to accumulate experience in this regard and blaze new trial for us, so we can bring all these experience into further practice and roll out to other provinces. So the negative list is also a requirement explicitly stipulated in the master plan to establish Hainan Free Trade Port. In the master plan, it states that we should establish a negative list for cross-border trade and services. And we should take concrete actions. In terms of a cross-border payment, the movement of a natural person, cross-border trade and services, it's very necessary to knock down the trade barriers and provide a wider market access to foreign practitioners and also give them national treatment. We believe all these actions are conducive to promote trade facilitation liberalization and also a requirement of a Hainan Master Plan. Thank you.
谢谢主持人。国际商报记者提问。目前我国已经相互制定了外商投资准入负面清单、市场准入负面清单。请问海南跨境承保负面清单和前两个负面清单。
With the international business, I would like to know right now China already released the negative list for the access of foreign investment and also the negative list for market access, and how this negative list for Hainan different from the previous two negative lists. We invite Mr. Tang Hong, my colleague from Ofcom, to take your question. Thank you very much for your question regarding the negative list for cross-border trade and services of Hainan FTP compared to the list for the access for market access and also negative list for the access of foreign investment. The difference is actually quite obvious in terms of its function, role, and scale. We talk about negative list for market access actually to the audience of this negative list, actually for the foreign invested companies, foreign companies, and actually to all the market entities. This is a unified requirement to the market entities. Negative list for the access of foreign investment and the negative list for cross-border trade and services of the Hainan Free Trade Port actually stipulate the requirement and the measures to the foreign entities. According to the definition made by WTO. Trading service is actually kind of divided into 4 types in terms of cross-border trade payment, cross-border consumption, cross-border commerce practice, and also the movement of a natural person. For a commercial presence, can consider as investment. The other 3 models can consider as cross-border trading service. The negative list actually include the agriculture, manufacturing, tertiary sectors. As we talk about that, include the commercial service providing that all included in this negative list. And the list for Hainan also stated clearly about the measures to the cross-border consumption, cross-border payment, movement of natural persons. And for the other items outside this negative list, actually should be treated as equal, no matter it's from China or from other countries. And we talk about this, the cross-border trading services is the first negative list in this regard. So we need to control the pace and the stride in these calls. And we should take step-by-step measures to implement this negative list. So when we practice the negative list for the access of market access, so in 2013, we actually make a pilot in Shanghai Free Trade Zone, and then roll out to Guangdong, Tianjin, Fujian Free Trade Zones. So we accumulated experience and also test the models of operation approved by the CPC Central Committee and State Council in 2017. We rolled out a nationwide negative list for market access. Going forward, we will also leverage the role of Hainan to test the water and also to monitoring the practice of the negative list for cross-border trading services of the Hainan Free Trade Port, and also studied the nationwide negative list, and also to have a wide open institutional policies, and we could find the right path for China. Thank you. Daily economic news. For like to know a greater picture of Hainan's free trade development and what's the highlights. With the great support of ministries, Hainan has actively implemented the arrangement by taking many measures to boost cross-border trade. In terms of cross-border payment, PBOC, CBIC, CA, and also the Foreign Exchange Administration released the documents supporting Hainan cross-border payment, and also improved the RMB convertibility, and also the enhancing the trade liberalization and facilitation. And we also issued the master plan from 2021 to 2025, and also to open a channel for cross-border payment. In terms of movement of natural persons, we also studied and released the identification of talents and also had a pilot, and also publish the documents in the managing talents, and also the certificates available to foreign talents. And 219 foreign certificates also admitted in Hainan, and also have 38 certificates also open to the foreign participants. And we also established the overseas testing place for a foreign country mobile payment, as well as the cruise tourism testing pilot. So far, we have seen a good momentum in developing Hainan Free Trade Port. Besides last year, compared to 2019 and 2018, we have seen a 16.8% and about 20% increase. And this year, H1, we have seen the 81.2% growth. And talk about features or highlights. First, help us to increase the attention given by the market. From 2018 to 2020, 2.1 times more companies registered. We look at knowledge-intensive and labor-intensive modern service industry. And last year and this year, H1 increased by 1.1 times and 1.9 times respectively, taking up 66.5%. The telecommunication, computers, and service technology service actually are the key sectors with fastest growth rate. We look at the Hainan Software Industrial Park and Hainan, the TCM hospitals actually are the export base identified by country, and also would like to accumulate experience that can be rolled out to other places. And we also would like to draw the experience and to have a best practice reference. In 2019, it's the first time for us to realize a surplus in cross-border trade in service. And also would like to take the cross-border trade in service as a key KPI in our work to develop Hainan FTP. Thank you. Xinhua News Agency, would you please introduce more about the key features we should pay attention to brought by this negative list in terms of scale and sectors? This negative list actually embraces many new highlights. Just now, Mr. Ni already gave you some brief introduction. I also would like to add on first regarding talent policies. The negative list for cross-border trading services actually take more open policies. For example, we cancelled a foreign personnel actually can take the practice in more than 10 certificate testing. So the key talents overseas can enjoy the policies and contribute to Hainan FTP drive. And second, and we could see that it also bring a good policy to the shipping industry as well as aviation. so that will play a key role in the transport hub. For example, a negative list, it cancelled the overseas vessel companies that they had a limitation in China to provide services in vessel or ship tracking. And just now, Mr. Li already introduced, right now this already cancelled. And also before, we not allowed the foreign entities to provide service in terms of aviation or the meteorological sector. And third, we also have some concrete actions released. For example, the foreign legal firms can practice part of the Hainan-related non-legislation suits, and also we can also hire the foreign entities as the legal consular. So the foreign entities actually can be the legal advisors to the Chinese companies. And also the negative list, so stick to that the finance to play its key role to support real economy development, and also they also allow the foreign entities to open its account in the securities and also the futures, so they can own the certificates in the advising